How do you guys do? We're going to be talking about, oh, I'm going to just wait until everybody's looking up here. We have a lot of things on our tables, so I really need you to be paying attention. Okay. We're going to be talking about the triangles today and different ways to classify triangles. So we're going to be thinking about a hierarchy. And a hierarchy is a fancy word that mathematicians use to start organizing different things. They put things into categories or subcategories so that they understand more specifically about whatever it is they're talking about. Okay, so today we're going to be thinking about a triangle hierarchy. And wait for your bags to be down and your hands to be free. Okay, so we're going to be thinking about triangles. And all triangles have a couple of different names that we can give them. So what I'm going to have you do right now is you all have your geoboards out in front of you. And I would like you to just make a triangle. Keep your rubber bands in the bag so we don't have a big mess, but make a triangle. Straight. Just need a smaller rubber band. Okay. Once you have your triangle, give me a discrete thumb up. All right. So the next part of this, what you're going to do is you are going to record this triangle in your student book. So Lily, can I use yours? Perfect. Okay. So in Lily's student book, I'm going to just show you this because it's a little bit tricky if you haven't done this before. So here's Lily's triangle. Is that a triangle?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. What she's going to do is she's going to open up to the page that you have marked for the triangle record sheet. And she is going to, there's little geoboards, don't do it yet, just pay attention to what I'm doing for Lily. She started her triangle 2 pegs down, so she started it right here. And then she went diagonal 2 spaces, 1, 2. And then she went over 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then through this one. Could you guys please go ahead and take your triangle that you made, and I want you to record it just in that first square. When you've done that, what I'd like you to do is come quietly to the carpet with only your geoboard. You're going to place the geoboard right there. Face up here, so you're going to be looking over here, and you're going to be looking over here, so make sure that you're in a spot where you can kind of see both the whiteboard and the chart paper. And you're sitting by your one partner. Oh, and Lily did such a good job of just putting her geoboard right on the carpet in front of her. Mason, you're going to have to turn your body, honey. And Brooklyn, can you scooch over a little bit? Oh, okay. Jacob, could you scooch over a little bit? Okay. You guys, make space.
Make space. I'll scoot over
Yeah.
so that Lily can scoot.
Thank you. Okay, fifth graders, eyes here. Not super impressed with that transition. When you come to the carpet, you need to find a space where both you and your partner can sit. Brooklyn, why don't you go back there and sit next to Valeria, and Georgia will sit between you and Wyatt. geoboards are on the carpet because I really need you to have your triangles in front of you, but I really don't want you being distracted by them. So show me that you can handle this by maybe having your hands off the geoboards and your eyes looking at me so I know that we're paying attention here. Looking for that eye contact. Okay, so with triangles, you guys all I said was to make a triangle. And when I'm looking around, look at these crazy triangles. Look, here's Lonnie's. Here's Lily's. Do those triangles look the same? No. And then I even saw one that looks like, yeah, Natalie, let me see yours. Look at this one. This one even looks more different, right? Okay, hold your triangles up and everybody just look around at each other's triangles. Look at that variety. George, I need you on the carpet now. Okay. All right, now put them down. So when I say triangle to a preschooler, like a 4-year-old, if I say triangle, they just know that a triangle has 3 sides, right?
Yeah.
But as we get older, we have to be more specific. A mathematician is really specific. And where are your eyes right now? Having a hard time making eye contact. Thanks. You settled? So one of the ways that we do this is we think about the side lengths. So if I were to think about the sides, if I were to run my finger over each of the 3 sides of Lily's, I'd run my finger over this side, and run my finger over this side, and run my finger over this side. Maybe even use a ruler. And I might notice that none of the sides are the same length. And if none of the sides are the same length, we could give it a name. And the name that we give it is called scalene. Everybody look here and say scalene. Scalene. Okay. So if none of the sides are the same length, as I'm looking at each of those 3 sides, it's scalene. Or if I'm running my fingers over the edges, or using a ruler to measure them, or just looking at it, and I notice that, oh, 2 of my sides are the same length, that triangle is an isosceles triangle. That's a hard word to say. Say isosceles.
Isosceles.
I think scalene is probably the one that people have the hardest time remembering, adults and kids alike. That's a hard one to remember. Isosceles is a hard one to say. And then some of you might notice that all 3 of your side lengths are exactly the same. And we call that equilateral. That's a nice one to remember because it sounds like what?
Equal.
Equal, yeah. Okay, so what you're going to do is in just a second you're going to turn and talk with your partner about your triangle. And I'm going to give you a sentence frame that you can use to help you organize and say why you think your triangle has that name. So you might say, my triangle is equilateral. Oops, help if it was right side up. My triangle is equilateral because, what would it have to have in order to be equilateral?
It has 3 of the same size.
3 equal sides. These are the exact same sentence stems that we used back in November in Number Corner when we talked about this. All in November. Okay, I would like you to turn and talk right now and think about what kind of triangle, I'll tape it back up, you have. If it is equilateral, isosceles, or scalene. Turn and talk.
So Natalie's triangle is equilateral. I also tell them scalene because it has 3 sides. Mine is 0 equal sides. Yours is 0 equal sides. Mine is isosceles because it has 2 equal sides.
Mine is isosceles. My triangle is isosceles because it has 2 equal sides. So Erica's was
But what that was.
isosceles
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's at a slant, so it's not exactly word. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about these. I'll hold the triangles up, and you guys can look at it and decide if you agree or not. Oh my gosh, is that just going to keep happening?
Yes.
What is it? Why isn't this tape sticky enough? Yeah. duct tape.
That tape doesn't like you.
I think it's the whiteboard's dirty.
That.
Okay. So, does somebody have a triangle that they think is isosceles? Who has a triangle they think is isosceles? Erica. Okay, let's take a look at it. Oh,
You can change it to this yellow one.
the yellow one might be two.
Yeah, it's really big.
That was
You
about
can just
to
make it
break.
bigger because it's there.
Okay, whatever, you guys can see it. Okay, everybody look at this. Erica, could you describe this for us? Come up here. Come up here. It is small, isn't it?
It's so tiny.
Okay, and our hands are free and we're looking up at Erica. Oh my gosh. Okay, eyes up here. Okay, Erica, what do you think yours is isosceles? Leave it alone, Lily, I'll get it.
The triangle is isosceles because it has two equal sides.
Do you guys agree with her? Where are the two equal sides? Can you point them out to us? Oh, right here and right here. Those are two equal sides. Okay, come take a seat. Who else do you think has an isosceles triangle? Maybe one that looks different than Erica's. Erica, could you call on somebody? Hold yours up. Can you use a sentence frame to describe your triangle?
My triangle is isosceles because it has two equal sides.
What do you guys think? Yeah. Could somebody show where his two equal sides are? Could you call on somebody?
Jacob?
Right there, and right there. The two lines that start the triangle.
Okay. Looking around. Who else thinks they have an isosceles triangle? Could you just hold it up high? Who else thinks they have an isosceles triangle? Oh, interesting. Okay, can I borrow yours? Can I mess with it a little bit? Okay, thanks, Lily. Did it just fall again?
It fell behind. It doesn't like you.
One of the white ones.
Here, I didn't see anybody. What about this one? Is this an isosceles triangle too?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you keep yours like that? We're gonna need it in a moment. Okay. Now I want you guys to think, oh, who has a scaling triangle? Let's look at a scaling triangle. Hosea, could you share your triangle? Could you stand up and share why you think yours is a scaling triangle using the sentence frame?
Because
Say, I think this is scaling because.
Can you please say that again?
This side's higher and this one goes longer than this side.
Do you guys agree that that would be a scaling triangle?
Yes.
I
Yes?
didn't hear.
He said because it's
No. Okay. Okay. Man, talk about a comedy of errors, huh? Let's see. We'll hope this sticks now. Okay. So Hosea had a scaling. Raise your hand if you think you also have a scaling triangle. Hold it up. Nice and tall. Nice and big. Let's look around. Let's see if we see any that we don't agree are scaling. Everybody look at all the ones that are held up. Okay. All right. Who thinks they have an equilateral triangle? Can you go ahead and hold yours up if you think it's equilateral? Okay. Everybody take a look around. Do you agree that those are equilateral? Okay. Natalie, could you explain why yours is equilateral? Could you use the sentence frame? Oh, wait just a second. Your class isn't quite listening yet. Oh, we're going to just wait because a lot of kids are looking at their own thing and not looking at Natalie.
the triangle is because it has
Triangle is equilateral because
three equal sides.
do you guys agree? Equal sides? Do you disagree?
I
I don't think that the geoboards can make triangles with 3 equal sides, because if you have sideways dimensions, I don't think that they'd be the same as going long ways or like up and down.
Okay, what do you guys think about that?
Can you say more? That looks a little off, yeah.
It looks a little bit off.
Yeah, it can't be perfect.
It's
It's almost impossible for it to be perfect.
So what would have to change in order? I'm sorry, I'm really distracted right now because kids are choosing to play with their geoboards instead of pay attention to this conversation. So Mason just said he's arguing that this isn't, even though it looks like an equilateral triangle and that the sides are equal, he actually doesn't think they're exactly equal and that it might not be possible on a geoboard. Can you say a little bit more about that? Landon, you were saying that as well?
It could be, but it couldn't be. Like, our eyes aren't like perfect to where it looks like it, but it can be off.
So what can we do if we're like, okay, it looks like it's an equilateral, but it might also look a little bit off? What could we do to figure that out? Could you call on somebody, Landon?
Menu?
Okay, and wait until everybody is listening. Okay. We could use a ruler to measure the sides. So we might have to do that. If you think you have an equilateral triangle, we might have to measure the sides and decide if on the geoboard you really did make an equilateral triangle. And we'll have to do that when we go back to our seats. But I have one more thing to show you. And I think you already kind of know this back from November, but I need your eyes up here again. Okay. There is another name that we can, I always like to think of triangles as having 2 names. And I was telling my morning group today that when you talk about like a person, I could say I'm going over to the Bravo's house, right? And you would know I'm going over to that family's house, right? But would you know which person I was going to visit?
Nope. Yeah.
No. How would I be more specific? How could I be more specific? She's got multiple, I could be visiting her brother, I could be visiting her mom or her dad or her. So they all live in the same place and all of them share the last name Bravo. But how could I be more specific? Jane.
Say I'm visiting Erica Bravo.
Give her a first name, be even more specific. If you are holding an isosceles triangle, could you hold it up nice and tall? Okay. Isosceles is kind of like the last name for these triangles. Eyes over here. But it's not very specific. They need a first name because these 2 isosceles triangles, yes, they both have 2 equal sides, but they're really different. And Landon is pointing over there to our chart, our hierarchy. Good, thank you, Landon. Everybody look over there. Now we have to give it an angle name. Are you ready? So, Wyatt, could you go ahead and put your geoboard up on the table, please? Thank you. We're gonna give it a first name, and we're gonna look at the angle sizes. And remember that the angles are right here between where the sides come together. We're measuring how far around in like a circle that's going. If we were to go all the way around in a circle, it's how much of this circle have we gone through. And when we were reviewing this morning, you were saying that there are acute, right, and obtuse angles. So let's see if we can get the tape to stick up here for these ones too. Okay, acute, right, and obtuse. Everybody show me an acute angle with your hands, with your arms. Acute. Okay. Everybody show me a right angle with your arms. Okay. And obtuse? Good. Okay. I want you to look at your triangles, and I want you to see how many acute angles you find in your triangle. Everybody look at how many acute angles can you find in your triangle. Hold up a finger, how many fingers you find. So if you find 2 acute angles, then hold up 2. If you find 3 acute angles, hold up a 3. If you find 1 acute angle, hold up 1.
It's impossible to have a
All right, look around. Does anybody have 1 acute angle? Oh, Brian, what were you gonna say about that? You were like bursting to say it. Could we listen to Brian?
It's impossible to have a acute isosceles or an acute triangle. Just any triangle.
What do you mean?
Because
Brian, you wanna call on somebody? You just opened up a great discussion to have.
Jacob.
You can't have an acute triangle because there wouldn't be any
Oh my gosh.
again
Yeah, just keep talking about it. I'm done with them.
corners for 3 equal sides.
Okay. Jacob, could you call on somebody?
What Jacob was trying to say is that you have to have 2 acute angles in a triangle, and it's impossible to make a triangle without 2 acute angles.
Let me just think about that. Wait just a second, Brian, wait for everybody.
I'm starting to disagree with myself, but because there's equilateral triangles, but it's impossible to have an acute triangle with isosceles. An acute isosceles triangle. Yes. It is. Or it wouldn't be 3 sides.
Okay, Matthew, wait, because some kids need to turn their bodies. Okay, so I think we need some clarification about these words. So an acute triangle, I'm just gonna write acute up here because that's not gonna fall off the board. Acute triangle has to have 3 acute angles. All 3 angles have to be acute, okay? Raise your hand if you were holding up 3 fingers just a second ago because you found 3 acute angles. Okay, we're gonna talk about that in a moment. Did anybody have less than 2 acute angles? Did anybody have 1 acute angle? No, everybody had 2 acute, okay? All triangles have 2 acute angles, but if it has 1 right angle, then it's a right triangle. Or if it has 1 obtuse angle, it's an obtuse triangle, okay? So what I want you to do right now is I want you to look at the angles with your partner, and this one is a little bit more challenging to look for. So could you please practice by saying, I'm sure this is gonna fall down again, but we're just gonna ignore it. The triangle is right, obtuse, or acute because it has, and then I want you to say it has 1 90-degree angle, or it has 1 obtuse angle, or 3 acute angles. Okay? Turn and talk.
Okay, you go first.
My triangle is obtuse
No, 1 obtuse. Okay.
Like I said, a triangle is one because it has 1 obtuse angle. My triangle is acute because it has 3 acute angles.
It's acute because it has
3 acute angles.
3 acute angles. Mine is
Okay.
because of yours.
Has everybody had a turn to share with their partners? Are you still debating? No? We have it? Okay, keep talking then. Finish up. I know. I don't know what's wrong with our whiteboard. I wonder if it was clean or the computer.
So Natalie's triangle was a obtuse
What?
triangle because it had 1 obtuse angle.
Yep.
My
Has
triangle
3.
was
So
a
can you
right.
use the sentence stem, Lily?
because it has two acute angles and one right. Because I think that might be right.
The triangle is
There's
acute.
acute. Straight up probably and then over. So that mine, and then my triangle is acute.
Yeah.
It has 3 acute angles.
All right. Go ahead and put your boards down. Could I, who thinks they have an acute triangle? Who thinks they have an acute triangle? Okay, Lily? Eyes over here. You guys agree that this is acute?
Yes.
Yeah? Lily, why is this acute? Can you use the sentence frame to explain?
A triangle is acute because it has 3 acute angles.
Huh. Did anybody else have 3 acute angles? Natalie? Do you guys think this one is acute?
Yeah.
Hey boys, are you having a little side conversation over there?
Yep. It's
Oh, are you saying, oh, Jacob's is also acute?
yeah,
Why?
because it has 3 acute angles.
Can you hold it up for all of us to look at? Landon, put it down. Thanks. Okay.
I'm kind of confused about Xavier's too.
Okay, let's look at Xavier's.
I think it's a right one because if you turn it sideways, that
Mm.
looks flat and then it goes straight up.
Okay, so what's the argument here? Eyes over here. Hey, I need you too over there.
If it's obtuse or right.
Oh, is it obtuse? Is it right, or is it acute? Because it's oriented this way and it's hard to tell. How could we figure this out? What do you guys think?
It looks.
Xavier, will you call on somebody since this is your triangle?
Put a piece of paper like the corner into it.
Okay.
Corner.
How would that help us know if it's right, obtuse, or acute?
The corner of the paper is 90 degrees.
So if I put the paper right in this one, if it measures exactly like the corner, then it would be right?
Yeah.
What kind of a triangle is it?
Right.
A right triangle. Were there any others that you were confused about or stuck on? Yeah, Lisbeth. Let's take a look at Lisbeth's really quick. Turn and talk. What do you think this one is?
It's obtuse because you have one that has one that's a lot like that.
Like it goes like this at first and then it just goes like that.
Yeah, it's like my used to fly.
So like this is right. Okay, this is acute. This is right.
Wrapping up in 3, 2, 1. This triangle is what? Because Elizabeth, will you call on somebody? Somebody maybe we haven't heard from very much today. Oh.
You haven't heard from much.
Yay.
Wait, Matthew, wait for everybody to be paying attention.
This triangle is obtuse because it has one obtuse angle.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Brooklyn?
I agree because I know it's not a right angle. Because if you take the corner of the piece of paper and line it up with the corner it's not a right.
Yeah, it's bigger than a right angle. It's bigger than 90 degrees. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Now you've given your triangle a first name and a last name. You've said it's right, acute, or obtuse because it has this many angles that are acute, right, or obtuse.
I need to know.
Katie? You've given it a last name because you've already decided if yours is equilateral, isosceles, or scaling. So when you go back to your book, in your books, you're going to see a little space underneath the triangle you just drew, and you're going to write out the first and the last names of your triangle. You're going to give it its 2 names. Okay? Ready? Go.